Hi, 1 and 2-year-old leaders. We are preparing for June 30th, the last Sunday in June. And this week we're looking at David. Remember little David, the shepherd boy who fights Goliath? Well, we're going to talk about that story today. Before we get to that part, though, remember last week we talked about the Israelites decided they wanted a king. And so God said, let's give them a king. And he gave them Saul. And well, Saul didn't exactly do all the things he was supposed to do. And God actually got really frustrated with him. And so he told Samuel to go to Bethlehem to see this man named Jesse, and that there was one of Jesse's sons that God was going to appoint king. Samuel gets there and looks at Jesse's sons and sees his oldest son, and he's like, surely that is who's going to be our king. He is tall and handsome and strong. And God tells him in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, he says, but the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. What we're going to see throughout the next few weeks is how God is preparing David to be a king after his own heart, who desires to do good, who wants to follow God, but obviously he's not the perfect king. Who's going to be the perfect king? Jesus is going to be the perfect king. And there could be no other king but Jesus who could be the perfect king. And so Samuel and Saul and David are preparing us for what God is preparing everybody for, is his promise from the very beginning of time to make a way to save us through the perfect King Jesus. So we are going to see David go up against Goliath this week. And in fact, your activity for this week, you're going to get to show kids how big Goliath really was. And really, the point in showing the kids how big Goliath was not just to show them that there's a big giant out there, but that God was with David, and David knew that God was with him from the very beginning. Little David shouldn't have been able to defeat Goliath the way he was, but it was through God's power and God's strength that David was able to do that. So your small group activity today, you have a large piece of paper that's already measured out. It is about 9 feet long. And what you're going to do is have each kid lay on the piece of paper, and you're going to mark where their feet start and where their head starts, or head ends. And then you can take your measuring tape or whichever works better for you. You have a little measuring tape like this, or you have a yardstick as well to measure for each kid how tall they are. And then you're going to write it on this card. And this is just a really neat keepsake. I know I have this for my kids when they were all the same age as the kids that you guys are leading today, to remind me how big they were then. And then to also remind kids that it doesn't matter how big or small you are, God can do amazing things in you when you when you follow him, and when you believe that Jesus was that king coming to save us. So, like the paper is just a way for you to measure. If you want to draw something special in there, you can, but it really is just an easier way for you to measure each kid and for them to compare. Like once this piece of paper is laid out on the floor, how many kids can you stack on top of each other before they're as tall as Goliath was? So just to give them an idea of how big a giant might be. Then your memory verse for the summer is, no one is like you, Lord. Your name is great. Or you are great, and your name is mighty in power. So our signs for that is no one is like you, Lord. Your name is great. That's the sign for great. Great. And or you are great, and your name is mighty in power. And then I don't think we have coloring pages for this week since we had a little take-home activity. So on your leader guide, it misprinted that. There are always extra coloring pages in your room if you need an extra coloring page for the day. But that's not an absolute necessity today because they have something to take home with them. Thank you for leading. If you have some friends that are ready to join our team, we would love to have them. Our attendance is growing every week. We've had 4 to 5 new families every weekend. Many of them are coming back, and we want to have a place for them and for them to know that their kids are safe. And so we need some extra hands. We especially need extra hands greeting at the front doors, at every door, down every hallway, and at our check-in station. And so if you have a friend or a husband who would like to come and serve on the same day that you are serving, we would love to have their faces around just to greet people and be friendly, and also for security reasons. In the last several months, we've had several kids come to us that have custody issues and some other issues going on. And so more eyes around to help us monitor and make sure kids get where they need to go always is helpful, as well as giving a kid a chance to actually build a relationship with a loving adult. Let me know if you have that friend or if you just want to bring them with you and give them a chance to shadow you for a day. We'd love the chance to get to know them and to get them started with a background check and all of the other things that we give everyone as they're getting started. Thank you for loving and leading kids, even in the middle of summertime.